As a California lifeguard, I love my job. I get to spend my days at the beach, and even when I'm not working, I like to spend my time here. The fun is just being here, watching people play, and having a great time. Unfortunately, there's a downside too. Nationally, thousands of people are injured or die every year from neck and spinal cord injuries. And the ocean's mighty force, it doesn't discriminate. Victims can be visiting tourists, casual beachgoers, intermediate swimmers, experienced surfers, and bodyboarders. There's one thing that these injuries and deaths have in common. They're preventable. That's why Hoag Hospital has developed Project Wipeout to demonstrate a few simple things that you can do to protect yourself from neck and spinal cord injuries. Everyone gets thrashed around in the waves once in a while. That's part of the fun. And people do occasionally hit the bottom without serious injury. So what exactly are we talking about? What do we mean when we talk about neck and spinal cord injuries? Chris McAleer loved to surf. In fact, he moved to the beach so that he could be in the water every day. The TV show Beach Patrol documented Chris's story. Check it out.
I thought I was going to be surfing, skating, and snowboarding my whole life. No goals, nothing more to learn.
His parents knew the ocean had called him there.
When he was 19, he moved out of the house, went down to the beach and got a job, and then...
That was his life, was surfing, and he made money parking cars, just enough to, pay the rent and be able to continue surfing. He loved sports, active in sports all the time.
He water skied and snow skied.
He was very coordinated. He was kind of like a dreamer, and he was a charmer.
Yeah, I think he's more of a people person.
On June 1st, 1995, Chris took a look at the water he knew so well.
It was really low tide that day. I remember seeing the low tide and thinking, I must be careful, because there will be sandbars popping up out of nowhere in the water.
Rob Stewart, a former lifeguard, was hanging out with friends that day.
That day was small. It was termed 1 to 2 foot surf. It was what most would term a very mellow, unhazardous day at the beach. And we happened to be in a spot where there was no opportunity for a lifeguard that day.
Then, on a wave that was no different than any other he'd ridden, the unspeakable happened. A sandbar lay 1 foot below the surface.
I pitched on my head and I felt the click. And my body just felt like a funny bone, just numb, like God turned the switch off the back of my neck. I found myself face down in the water, unable to move, and I was totally conscious. I just remember thinking, please, somebody see me, come roll me over. I just could not believe that I could not move my body.
Minutes passed before someone on the beach spotted his board.
I saw a gentleman in front of me stand up. He got up, looked down at his wife, spun around, and bolted out of his seat again and started to head down towards the water. I knew there was something wrong out there. I ran up to that man and said, "What's going on out here?" And he said that he thought he had seen a body out there.
While a beachgoer ran a block away to the nearest lifeguard, the two men raced out to what they feared might be a dead body.
Upon reaching the body, I knew I had to do one thing first, and that is get some air into the victim. And I could not find a pulse. I needed something to get the victim up above water.
Put your mouth on it, buddy. Come over here, please.
There was no outward sign of injury, no indication that Chris's head had been struck, no indication that his limp body was still desperately trying to stay alive. Could he simply be unconscious?
Very scary moment. I kept checking for a pulse. I still just could not find one. And time is going by, and I'm getting very concerned that we're about to have, if we don't already have, a dead body.
At the same time the rescuers gave him air, they tried to pull him to shore.
And I just kept saying to myself, we need help, we need help.
Newport Sea-Watch lifeguards had responded the instant they were contacted.
Hold on, body, so bring it up, breathe in. Okay, let's slide him up. Slide him up. Don, I got an airway, let's go.
When Chris finally regained consciousness in the hospital, his parents were at his bedside.
First thing, we just looked at him and he looked at us. He got tears in his eyes and he just smiled. "I love you." And we did the same, and it was like, that's all we needed to say.
He talked about, I'll be okay, I'll be able to move. I had a sense from knowing what his injury was that that may not be true.
4 days after his accident, Chris McAleer summoned up incredible courage to give this warning to his fellow surfers.
I know you surfers out there, so many times when I've surfed Newport 12 feet, huge, and you just hop off your board and hit your head, you know, and you get a little kink, you think nothing of it. Next thing you know, you're just in a foot of water and you get hit the wrong way, and it's over. And it just takes one time not to see it like I did, and here you are.
After a year of roller coaster emotions, of high hopes and devastating depression, Chris McAleer came to a surprising conclusion.
I believe this happened for a reason. Now I'm doing things. I'm expanding my mind. I'm reading. I'm going to school. I'm educating kids. I'm doing something good. Good is coming from this.
Chris visits elementary schools for Project Wipeout, a neck and spinal cord injury prevention program that promotes beach safety. Because many of the children are curious about Chris's injury and that he is in a wheelchair, he has a unique ability to turn their curiosity into a positive awareness about water safety.
Always swim with your buddy, hands in front of your head, and always remember how deep the water is. And don't let your guard down. That's right.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Life is just taking on a whole new meaning.
Okay, let's think about what Chris just said. Number 1, be aware. Unfortunately, accidents like Chris's are all too common. In Chris's case, the error in judgment came when he didn't know how deep the water was.